Hi, I'm Andrew, and this is Blaster Breakdown. Today, the Mega Spex-L Boom Dozer. This is now a remote line HPA blaster powered by Spectre's Spex-BZ and uses a 3D printed drum designed by Chicken, firing 5 short darts per rotation, 6 rotations per barrel. The original pump action simply rotates the drum, and a solenoid valve controls the firing, powered by a small LiPo in the back, activated by a micro switch in the handle. Before we start though, go ahead and hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, let's have a look inside. Okay, let's start with the plunger tube assembly. So this part holds the plunger tube, spring, plunger, some locks and so on, and as you prime the blaster it pulls the spring back and there's a catch at the back here. So all the inside's gone. So I've removed all of that, and what I've done instead is stuck a Spex-BZ in there. It's a pretty close fit. The Spex-BZ is just a little too thick to fit in place, so what I did is cut the housing for the plunger tube a little and then filled that in with hot glue so that holds the Spex-BZ nice and tight. On the inside I filled that up with hot glue and made a hole just to get rid of some dead space. And the foam piece that presses against the drum wore away, so I replaced that with some silicone padding there. Otherwise, the back of the Spex-BZ, I've got some push fits and a 6mm hose coming out the bottom here. Now this bit that slides back when you pump, I don't need that to prime a spring, of course. What I do need that for is to rotate the barrel. Now this slide piece here attaches to this bit, and when this pulls back, it rotates this hexagon which holds the barrel. However, in the normal operation, this doesn't happen until you get right towards the end of the draw. Now I don't need that, so what I did is glued this bit of plastic in here, and all that does is it pulls on this orange piece to rotate the hexagon much earlier in the draw. So you don't have like 5 centimeters of slack before the barrel rotates. It'll rotate pretty much straight away. So a short pumping action to rotate the barrel to get the next 5 shots ready. So that's pretty much as it is. So I've got my hose going into the back of the Spex-BZ coming out here. The rest of this molding is useful because it fits into the shell at multiple points, so that holds the whole assembly nice and firm. Okay, so now this is how it fits into the blaster. So the rotation mechanism sits in there, and we've got various points that fit into the shell. Of course our barrel, and the barrel sits on there. So, and it's just a matter of lining all these posts up. That's in. Okay, so now when I move that back and forth, you can see how the rotation mechanism works. Now to activate the Spex-BZ, I'm using a solenoid valve. So this is a 3-way, this is in the normally open configuration. To make space, I've sort of ground out a bit of the plastic on the inside and stuck some Velcro there just for some cushioning. Now this just needs to hook in the bottom here. So air comes through the remote line, through the solenoid into the back of the Spex-BZ. When we pull the trigger, that closes off the inlet, dumps air from the third port on the other side, and that triggers the quick exhaust valve to flip position and dump air out the front, firing darts through the drum. So this hose is going to go down through and out there. I'll have a connector in place there. To fire the solenoid, I've run one wire through this switch, and then that's activated by my trigger. So pull the trigger, it closes the circuit, solenoid flips from open to closed, Spex-BZ dumps air out the front, and XT30 connector will sit in the back here, and all this extra wire won't matter a bit. In fact, I could probably just run it through there and then it's out of the way. Now, I've made a lot of space at the back here, ground this all out, and I've got this little 3S LiPo, and my plan is that it'll just sort of sit like so, be plugged in fact, can you hear that? So that's closing the circuit when I pull the trigger. You can hear the solenoid there changing from open to closed when I do that. So that's how that works. So the battery is going to sit in the back here. I'll have access through a hole in the back, and I could have cut the wire shorter, but it doesn't really matter because nothing happens at the back here. Okay, so if I'm happy with that positioning, then I can cut this hose to length a bit and put my remote line connector in, and that's going to sit in the base like so, and be obviously the second half of the shell will close up over that, and so we'll just have this connector protruding. So I'll get some scissors and do that now. Right, let's see how this fits. Alright, and that'll be held in place like so. Now let's test the configuration before we close it all up. Okay, so I've got quite a low pressure to start with. That sits like so, and then when I connect this up. Okay, so normally open means the air is coming through here and the SPEX-BZ is pressurized. When I pull the trigger, you can hear it fire. Release the trigger and it's full of air again. So that's good, that's perfect, that's everything working correctly. Okay, moving along. We've got our pump grip attachment. So these teeth drive the gears that help to prime the blaster, but they're not necessary here. However, the whole thing sits underneath, so I do need to pull this apart slightly to fit that in. Line everything up again. Okay, so now we can see how the pump grip will. Let's put our front barrel piece in. I think I can just close this up now. So there's not much happening up the front. At the back, I just need to make sure these wires don't get pinched, which it did. Okay, and yep, the trigger's working nicely. So I can go ahead and screw this all together, put the pump grip on, and we're ready to test. Okay, so here we are, this is all put together now. You can see how the pump grip rotates nicely. Front's on, that's all good. At the back here, you can see the hole I've made for my battery. So if I plug that in, I should be able to just feed this in here, and again, more wire than I need, but that's all right. Just sort of work that in. There we are. And I've got this Worker F10555 piece. It sits over the end. That keeps it nice and nice and neat. Let's plug in our air again. And okay, let's load some darts up and see how it works. There we are, 30 darts. All 5 fired. All 5 fired. So that looks pretty good. Time to take this outside and do some more firing. Okay, here we are 30 feet from the target. 30 Worker Gen 3s loaded up, so 6 groups of 5. And I've got my air set to 100 psi input. So let's see how we go. That's fun, no doubt about it. So maybe 1 out of the 5 shots would either drop low or go high. Most were on target, which is great. Let's go back to 50 feet and see what results we get there. And here we are at 50 feet, so I'll allow a little bit more for the drop. Let's see how we go. Okay, as you'd expect, quite a bit more spread at this range. So 50 feet, maybe if you're firing at a group of enemies, this could be useful, but I think its best value will be getting up close, 30 feet or so. With the groupings that we got at that range, it's really going to be hard to miss your target. So there you have it, that's the Mega Spexl Boom Dozer. Now a SpexBZ powered remote line HPA short dart shotgun. Please leave any questions or comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.